Hello, everyone. My name is Julie McVey, and this is Unordinary Made Ordinary, where we talk about extraordinary experiences of everyday people. And today we are speaking with Claudia Edge. Thank you so much, Claudia, for being here.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. I love the opportunity. So thanks, Julie.
You are quite welcome. I am so excited about this conversation we're going to be having. If you wouldn't mind, could you please share just a little bit about yourself, a little background
You
information?
bet. You bet. Um, I'm approaching my 70s. I've been, as we were talking earlier, I think I came in curious of the other side and whatnot. I was always kind of led to, I was born in the 50s, so not a whole lot of information on near death experiences or whatnot. But I did. I just always believed in the magical side and that we lived on, that death wasn't the end. When I was 16, I lost my dad in a tragic accident, and you learn firsthand, that grief and that pain of losing someone, because I adored my dad,
Mm.
and that was really hard. So that was in 1969. In the early 70s, Dr. Raymond Moody started writing books about his research in, the near-death experience and that phenomena of patients being, brought back and saying, "Hey, I was on the other side." And people didn't know what to do with that information. And so he started gathering research and writing books about it, and it became a topic. And right now, it's a big topic. So many people are talking about it. And places like your show, Julie, your podcast, the many podcasts that I've been on, it's growing. And I do not mind being one of your, first few months guests or whatnot, because the listening audience is growing daily. We're looking for answers. We do have our heads in the clouds a little bit. What's up beyond the clouds? Um, Extraterrestrial life. Do we die? Is it just we're just gone? The questions are there. And so your audience, all audiences in this venue, are really growing quickly. So I'm grateful to be here. Um, when I was 31 and I was having my last baby, I was expecting my fifth baby, and I was within my due date within a couple of days. I had an intuition that something was not quite right, and I just wanted to go to the hospital and be checked out. My husband worked nights, and it was kind of difficult to get him off work to be with me when he was just like, it's just a check, but we ended up at the hospital, and at the desk, I began to bleed. And I mean, not a few drops, and to be very graphic, and sorry, audience, but it was like a bucket just of blood just dropped
Oh, no.
between my legs. And I mean, this is at the nurse's desk. This is not, in the operating room or anything. It was so immediate. And they had just called my doctor and said, she's a ways off, we're going to check her, but she'll probably go tonight. So we'll keep her around. We'll have her walk around the hospital or whatnot. And for that to happen right then, they were scrambling to find help
Wow.
for me, who was losing blood so quickly that it was only a matter of minutes of what I had left.
Oh,
So an intern ran in. I was pushed into an examination room, not an operating room, no anesthesia, no warm blankets or any of those, an aspirin, anything. I went through delivering an emergency C-section to have my baby girl. They were saying they couldn't find a heartbeat on her, and as any mother in this situation, everything of myself went out the window. I just wanted, save my baby. And they held up this scalpel and, cut me, from stem to stern to take my baby. And it was horrendous pain. I hadn't been in pain prior to. And I'll tell you now, because sometimes I forget to add to the story, is my placenta is the audience that doesn't know what that is. It's basically between you and the baby, and it feeds the baby and keeps the baby comfortable and fed and whatnot. And it had been collecting blood, but blood had not been moving through it.
Oh,
So I got to a certain size and it exploded. And all of the blood that had been stored in it was now running out of me. And it was very quick. An intern ran in and said, by the looks of the blood, we've got about 2 minutes. And I just said, save my baby. And in those 2 minutes, I was very aware that I had probably 2 minutes to live. And I was a healthy young mom, mother of 4 other little children. And I just kind of wondered, wow, so this is it. This is how you go, and I think of those things like when you are dying, whichever death it is, because you've kind of wondered your life, is it going to be an automobile accident or illness or, whatever? Am
yeah.
I going to be hit by a bus? Well, this is mine. I'm here and I'm going. And as I was thinking this, trying to calm myself down, trying to hang on from the horrendous pain, and the walls began to move. They became kind of a liquid, and they just kind of they were moving in, like they were getting closer and closer to me. The roof had lifted off, and so I was exposed, right there and I realized that I was becoming a part of in the tunnel. And I was lucid because I thought, oh my goodness, I'm this is the tunnel that I've heard about in other
Mm.
NDE stories. And at the time that they when they're doing a C-section and they've cut you open, they're moving organs and things to get to the baby, to be graphic again. And by the time I saw this gray rope being wrapped around the nurse's arm, this long gray rope. And I realized it was my intestines. And
Oh.
the pain was so horrendous, like soldier on the battlefield, gut wound that they know is unrecoverable. And they just shoot them with morphine. And that's kind of where I was at. I wished for the morphine. I wished for anything I needed to get out of my body. It was
Mhm.
excruciating. And I did. I popped out of the back of my body. I was kind of looking at my feet and whatnot, and I felt it was kind of a pop, like a child's pop gun toy, where you put the little ball in and
Mhm.
push it and pop. That's that puff of air, that just ease of that pop is what I, walked away from that, from dying with, is that explanation. It was a soft pop. And I was looking down on the scene. They were trying to revive my baby. At the time, I didn't know if it was a boy or girl. I just saw baby and gore. And I knew that I had heard that she had drowned in my own blood. And so
Oh.
there was a sadness in looking down at the scene of, I just had had enough. And I left the situation, ended up kind of floating through the hospital a little bit. But I'll keep the story a little bit short. There's a lot of venues to uh, floating around the hospital. But when I was in a man's room, he was watching MASH on television, and I had followed the music to his room. And so I stood at the side of his bed. Now I say stood, I'd floated down the hospital. It was completely normal. There was nothing going, that felt weird or anything. I could go through walls, I could do all kinds of stuff. And there wasn't a thought like, oh, it was like I have done this 1,000 times before. And it was like muscle memory,
Right.
just back to doing what I did. And as I was at the side of this man, he didn't realize, I could tell after a few minutes that he didn't know I was there. And I thought, oh my goodness, I must be dead. And as soon as I thought that, I changed in where I was. I was in an immediate, complete darkness,
Oh,
completely black. It was, I mean, it was, I still search for the right words, because when you say I was in the darkness or I was in the black, it sounds like you've gone to this negative place.
mhm.
But this was not a negative experience. It was perfect. It was peaceful and beautiful and calming and sacred and loving, and just, it was everything and nothingness all at the same time. It's really hard to give words to the experience, but I knew that I was being cradled, that I was being, not, I don't even want to say like a physical holding, but that I was safe. I felt like I was being held. It's still hard to find the right words, but I knew that I was safe. I knew that this darkness was alive. It was conscious. It knew me. It loved me. And I honestly could have stayed there forever. I
Wow.
could have been happy just being there and just absorbing this love. Um, a nurse started calling my name, and I could hear it. I could hear them calling my name. And the more that they called, I would seek deeper. I felt like I was just kind of crawling deeper into the blackness, the darkness, to shield myself from, because the noise of earth, the human voice even, is a horrible sound from it up there, because we speak in a telepathic, there are no words, there's no misunderstanding of the meaning of what you're saying, because it's um excuse me, it's thought, and it's thought in a complete sentence or paragraph or whatnot that's given
Mhm.
with intent and feeling. So there's no misgiving of what you're saying. And so here's this voice calling, Claudia, Claudia, your baby's alive. She needs you. It's a little girl and she needs you. And I physically, I was looking for a voice saying, no, my baby died. Leave me alone. I honestly didn't want to come back. And as soon as I found that ability to speak, I was back. I was back.
Right.
So, and thank goodness, because I had precious other babies at home, it's just, but when you're in that, and you know what, I'll interject there too, because I've been asked, even by my own daughter, that the baby that was involved in this, my beautiful, beautiful Chelsea, it's like, oh, mom, didn't you want to stick around and see what I looked like or see if I lived or anything? But there is a draw when you're drawn to the other side. And when you're on the other side, there's again that knowing, that information that everyone's going to be fine. Yeah, there's going to be life lessons and toughness and kids without a mom or whatnot, but I wasn't as concerned that I was leaving them, as sounds really selfish, but it is, you don't want to leave that environment. Your home, it's more home than 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 this dream. I will use the word dream that we're in right now.
Mhm.
It's real, it's beautiful. We are doing magnificent, cool things, and we're doing terrible things. And, but one day we get to wake up from this dream
Mhm.
and examine it on the other side.
Can I ask you something that
Sure.
so many ask this question and I don't have an answer. Maybe you do. This is assuming you might believe in reincarnation or coming back or the choice to come back. Why would we choose to come back?
I love it. I love it. Let's jump in this.
I mean, I don't want to stop the whole rest of the story, but
Ah,
if you can offer any wisdom on that.
absolutely. I'm trying to tie it in together, because I will just quickly say, we were both brought back. We're both, we're here, we're healthy and whatnot. And what I have learned, it's taken a long time through questioning what that darkness was and why it hadn't been, I hadn't seen a garden or a relative or something on the other side. Questions for a long time. So, for one thing, I wanted to say to the audience, and now I'm hearing more and more of those darkness type, not the hellish ones, but
Right.
cradled in darkness type of situations. And it's like, you're opening the closet and let some of these out because we've been pushing it down, thinking, how come we're so different than all these other near death experiences? So the information that I give is from all since 31, I'm almost 70, of nightly dreams. I go to what I've called spirit school, visions, gifts that I've come back with. And so I answer that question through a number of dreams that I had to kind of back it up. So why we are here? Basically, we are pieces of God. We're God. And people are going to go mind blow, or turn me off or whatever. But let me, um, because we were made of God with a uniqueness, all of our own personality, our own free will. It's really important gifts that we were given from God. Why are we here? Because God is all infinite, all knowing, the I am, source, creator, everything. Every particle is God. Every breath that we take contains God in it.
Mhm.
But one thing that God could not do in all of the knowing was the physical, to put himself, and I'll say himself because it's comfortable to me. If it's uncomfortable for anyone in the audience, excuse me. This is what I grew up with, thinking God is a him. I think God is, I don't believe exactly that it's a him, but that's a whole nother
Yes.
interview, right, Julie?
Yes.
So if I slip words out like that,
It's
it's
not
a
like we can be
micro.
telepathic here. We have to use
Exactly.
limited language. That's all we
Limited
got.
language. I call it earth words, right? it's and um, so we are here. We're like um, foot soldiers is a good word.
Mm.
We raise our hand and volunteer. Sure, sure, Heavenly Father, sure, God, I will go down and experience the physical, because God is so inquisitive. There is a knowing of everything, and yet there's more to know. There's never a point where you stop learning.
Mhm.
And God wants to continue to grow and learn as well. So we are perfect creations. I mean, I know some religions and that say children or whatnot. I've heard shards, pieces of God, um, whatever terminology that you're comfortable with in that. But we are purposeful in our creation, and we are unique from everyone else. And our situations that we are born into, we get to help choose. It's like what, because the best way to learn, and you've heard it before, is walking in another man's shoes, right? It's kind of like you have your own perspective. How do you know how this other person felt unless you can feel what he's feeling? So it's an opportunity for us. Reincarnation is an opportunity to
Hmm.
walk in another's shoes. And so none of it, I know there's the word karma used a lot, okay,
Right.
you were naughty in the past life, and so this life, you're going to go and be, bullied and all of that. And I guess, there's truth to that, because it's a 360-degree view, right? To experience, if you were the bully last time, then okay, maybe you want to be the victim this time. But I don't believe in a set karma, like you have to, like you're caught in this karma wheel. And I don't know everything. So that, I think, is opinion based on what I have learned and been shown.
Right.
But
It
I could
sounds
be
like you're
wrong.
saying it's free will, that
It's
we
free
aren't
will,
forced to come back, but
right?
we volunteer.
We volunteer and we're happy to do it because we're in service to God, because
We're part
we
of God.
we're a part of God.
Sounds like we have maybe more of a God perspective after we pass on. So
Absolutely.
we kind of want to do it. We want to come back.
Want to go back. We want to, and
Mm,
each time we're here, it was part of the question is, okay, why would we choose this? I was on a show with
mhm.
Sandra Champlain, who is wonderful. She does coast to coast radio and We Don't Die radio. And, it's like, why would I choose this particular body even?
Right.
She was saying, I've had a weight issue my whole life. Why would I choose this,
Mhm.
or whatnot? And, those situations are set up. And
Mm,
I've experienced those in dream. I was able to be with my son, who is not my son on the other side. Now, when we go back, who knows how that all works out, but on the other side we were absolutely on even playing fields. We were basically part of the same soul group, kind of
oh,
an evenness in our advancement, because
mhm.
what we are after, why we're here, is that advancement. Everything we experience and learn and do down here is counted. It's not a mistake, it's not a sin and a punishment and whatnot. Everything is, it's looked at and from a learning
Mm,
perspective. And
mm,
so when you have advanced, so there's not anyone better or more special, or there's not a hierarchy there, so to
mhm.
speak, but we are all working to obtain, basically, to get back to God, because we're separate from God now, right? We're here, we're living in a separateness. And what we miss when we go through that veil to be born here, we our memory of the life before,
Mhm.
the knowing how magnificent we really are. We're God. How do we come here and let someone abuse us or talk badly
Mm,
to us or starve, or all of the things that we're put through here?
mhm.
We There's no way we would do that. I'd be like, I'm going back home. This is if we knew. So
Right.
this,
There
so
must be a very good reason and purpose. It
exactly,
sounds like what you're saying is we are God experiencing himself
exactly,
in a
exactly.
way that he doesn't other than through us.
Other than through us,
So that's
we're
pretty important.
pretty darn important, isn't it? We're the physical God, really. And I don't mean to say that in an unhumble fashion. I love God, my heavenly Father. That's a familiar word for me from little girl. It's my highest honor, my heavenly Father. Um, Sorry, I get teary a little bit
That's okay. That's okay.
because I have such a love and of God,
Mhm.
and I'm happy to be here and put myself through it. It's a short duration of time, especially as I approach my 70s, to realize, I
Mm,
used to be that hot young thing that I'm not anymore. And it was fun at the time. And I learned a lot about myself at the time. And now I'm in a completely different role. And yet they're all me. And so
right.
if you allow yourself to experience, you can have a whole uh I guess a full journal when you get back.
So here's a question. All the little girl is you, the 30-year-old you is you, the 70-year-old, it's all you.
Hmm.
In a way, it's almost like, wait, what happened to that little girl? Am I still that little girl? So I would have that same question about all of the lives that we've had. Are we always able to tap into those lives, like on the other side? Can
Yeah,
we tap into those?
On the other side, absolutely. Here, very rarely. We'll have a, if there is something that would help us in this life, because, and here's a whole nother topic for a whole nother show, but, time is, linear time,
Linear. Mhm.
or the fact that there's no time, it's hard to wrap your mind around it. I just wrote a book with several stories in it, contributors who spoke about experiencing no time or living
Oh.
in that parallel universe. And I've had many dreams, dream experiences, I will call them, because they're much more than a dream, of lives that I've lived before. And
Mm.
I think part of my being able to see those was so that I could speak intelligently about that, that I could, I've, I honestly, I think that I have been gleaned a lot of different experiences, um, so that I can speak about them, but I'm not an expert
Mhm.
or in any of them really, nor is anyone, I guess. But
Would you
some are wonderful mediums, and some can, see the other side or see guides.
right.
Yeah,
Would you mind expanding? You said your dream experiences. Are these lucid dreams?
they are. They
Oh, okay.
I've had, you know, just regular, I call them sand dreams, where you wake up and they just go away.
Right.
Uh, and then I had a few where I called them movie dreams, where it's like, wow, every color, everything, I noticed everything. And
Okay.
so I had a couple of those. And then as I was meeting my spirit guide, and I'll tell you how he did it, was he would be in the side of my dream. You're in your dream, but
Mhm.
somewhere in your peripheral is this weird characters, and he would do crazy things, or wear, dances, or wear weird outfits or anything,
Huh.
so that I would here would be over here, and I would pull my attention to what he
Ah,
was doing. And he would hold up a sign and say, pay attention to this, watch out, watch for this, or whatever it was that he wanted me. And he would do that for a while, almost on a nightly basis, so that I
wow.
got used to pulling out of the sand dream, staying in that state. And he would take me to what I call spirit school, where I learned a lot of lessons in that I was able to write in my books.
Would you say during these times you were aware that you were dreaming? Or
Yes,
not until you woke up did you realize, oh, I had a dream and all the memories came back?
I was aware that I was somewhere else. I was lucid within that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, so what kinds of what kinds of things did you learn in the spirit
Oh
school?
my goodness. Well, a lot of it was supporting the things that we were just talking about, like
Okay.
choosing a body, because I was with my son when we chose his body, because it wasn't how good looking he was going to be, or how smart he was going to be, or whatnot. What we were looking for is the best vehicle that would serve the purpose that he came here for. The possibility for adversities or whatnot
Mm.
in his life would be, okay, well, in this region, if you were born here, and with this father or whatnot, you will probably look like this. And there was an example. It's a longer story, but there was an example of what that particular body, if I
Oh,
mix my DNA with this particular man, this is kind of what we would produce. And we went through three different bodies of,
wow.
um, what the possibilities of those adversities, and what he would learn. Did it mark what he had kind of come, set as his goal in coming to Earth? Which vehicle would work
Mm.
best? And because I was going to be set as his mother and coming in early, I had to kind of agree to
Right.
father that he was picking, make sure that
Wow.
we were, it's
Mm.
such a, I have seen from the other side the complexity
Uh-huh.
of our earth. When someone says this is just kind of a dream and it's not, and I do not mean to downplay it, because this is a huge gift from God to be here. This planet, everything that was created for us to come and be in this play, this. this life is an opportunity, and it was given it with absolute full-hearted love
Hmm.
from God for us to experience. So I don't mean to make light of our life here or the importance of, like we were talking earlier, living our life. You know, it's like it's important. You're here. You went through a lot of stuff to get here,
It
right?
sounds, yeah, I mean, when I think about my childhood, that seems like a dream from where I
That,
am, from where
yeah,
I'm sitting right now, but that doesn't take away from all the vital, the important
exactly.
significance of it.
I'm the primary caregiver for two little 6-year-old twins. My daughter lives with us at this point. She's saving for a house, and so we're all together in this house, scrunched together. And I take care of them Monday through Friday after school. They're in
Mm,
kindergarten, so I'm primary care for a number of hours, a lot of hours during the day. And I think about what they'll retain from
mm,
this, from 6, because it's like, what do I
right,
remember it being 6? Not a whole lot. But they're living a full,
right,
valid life with
right.
feelings, emotions, everything. This, how important that toy or that girl at school, or those pigtails that mom forgot to put in, didn't comb my hair right. And it's all valid. They're living that part of their lives. And yeah, when they turn 20 or whatever, they'll hardly think of it again. But
Right,
it was valid at the time, every bit of it, and every bit of your 20s and whatnot, which is
right.
which is a cool thing when you do die and you go through those the screening, you hear about seeing your life review. I mean, it's a lot more than just getting to relive your life and seeing yourself ride a pony or go to a birthday party or something. But that's a whole nother conversation too. But um, it is really cool to see yourself and be able to feel who you were and what
Mhm.
you thought of at that age of 6 or 8 or whatnot.
How
So,
how did you get into dreaming in at this level? Did you strive for that, or did that just start coming to you naturally?
I it's a super good question. I think because I trusted my dream, like with 5 kids, this is my second marriage. I've lived a lot of life. There's a lot of stuff that take up my day. And when I got to put on my jammies and climb in bed, life was mine again for whatever hours. What do you want to do with these hours? Do you want to sleep? Do you want to drink, do you want to stay up? Do you want to read this book? Those few hours every day were mine. And I think I was given, based on that I did need sleep and whatnot, that I was given dream. And I have learned to really trust my dreams, what I get in
And
dream,
you've been journaling from the beginning?
from the beginning of
Interesting.
dreams. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
heard that that helps us have more, well, remember our dreams more,
Right.
the more we journal.
And like everyone else, it's like I don't want to wake up to run to go to the bathroom and it's dark, and it's like I don't want to turn on the lights and really wake up to maybe journal a dream I just had. So before I jump up, I'm like, okay, where was I? What was I just dreaming? And who
Mhm.
was in it? And I just try and go just a quick, review of what I remembered before I get out of bed. Now that has taken a lot of training because, when you wake up, especially if you're a busy mom or whatnot, the minute your eyes open,
Oh
you're back
yeah.
in the world,
Oh
right?
yeah.
You're a part of the world again. And so it's something that you really have to work on, just that extra few seconds to hang on to what it was, run in, go to the bathroom and then come back and go, okay, what was my friend Robin and I doing in that Volkswagen, or, whatever. And keeping those keywords, Robin, Volkswagen, you
Right.
know, and then you can bring that dream back. And sometimes if you're lucky, you can get back into the dream and finish it. But if I can remember those, even those two key words, Robin in the yellow Volkswagen, the next morning as I start to write, then the dream comes back.
And then later, so later you consider him your guide. Did you tell me his name? Or
Yeah, I didn't. His
oh,
name is, for a myriad of reasons, his name is Click Click.
Click. So he's your main guide or one of your main
Main
guides?
guide. Yeah, yeah. It's a funny story, but as I, him doing all of these weird things, and I used to walk a lot. I used to have these walking sticks, that would just click, click, click. And always when I was out walking, I'd be like, "Who's my spirit guide? I want to see you. I want to know you."
Yes.
So
Right.
the click, click became a part of my ask. I want to know. And I know that we don't have a super lot of time left, but I wanted to, because one of the things that I've come across a lot, just even in the last few days, from the other side and from different areas I won't go into, but the other side is saying, ask.
Mm.
You don't ask me like you used to.
Huh.
We, our guides, God, all of the other side does not step away from us. We are the ones that separate from God, right? We don't pray enough, or we don't, just in speaking and verbalizing our needs. Gee, I really wish I could pass this test. And if we did that more on a regular basis, because the universe, and I'll use that word instead of the light or whatever, for comfort for someone else out there, the universe would love to help us. But we're on our own journey here. We've contracted it. We've picked players to play their roles in this journey, in this play, and it's very real. And
Hmm.
our partners, we generally know who our partners are going to be. We don't remember it once we get here, but we had a great deal to do in picking who they were. So it's when we get here and we don't remember those things. And I
Right.
just went off on a tangent. Now I can't remember why I was going there. I hate when I do this. What were we just talking about, Julie?
That's okay. I mean, yeah, I have a feeling we're going to have another interview.
Oh, okay.
But this may be not a good question to ask when we're running out of time, but when we're talking about other lives, can we also have other lives on other planets?
Absolutely. And I did remember the thing
Okay.
that I wanted to say is just to ask the universe. The universe wants us, would love to come and help, but we have to ask first. So I wanted to make sure I made that important
Ask.
point. Yeah, ask. And I'm not perfect by any means. It's like someone said today, they were speaking to someone else, but said, you don't meditate. It was someone from the other side, a sister. And I have a sister on the other side who was an important teacher for me. But they
Oh,
said, you don't meditate anymore. How am I going to talk to you? She was going through a medium and said, at
right.
least do it twice a week so I can still come and talk to you. And
Huh.
it just ran shivers, up my arms to think we're the ones that get distracted
Mm.
and step away and get involved in life, which is, it's okay. But every now and again, step back in, check in with your guides, say hello to your loved ones that have passed, and just say hello and that you miss them, and give them an opportunity to maybe come into your dreams, or
Mhm.
leave a penny at the, right before you step into the car, maybe a penny from mom, or something, because when we ask and we're present and we're kind of expecting that,
Mhm.
if you'll notice that a lot of that stuff will come to you.
Hmm. Very good advice.
Yeah,
So, gosh, I have so many other questions, but we're kind of running out of time. So, will you come back? Maybe we
I
can
would love to,
talk about
it's my
more.
favorite thing to talk about.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
But before we do go, I mean, a couple more things, I'd want the listeners to know how to connect with you and
Oh,
what
may I?
projects you've worked on or are working on. And of course, I'm going to put all these links up
Okay.
in the video
Well, you
section.
had said something in the very beginning, and I didn't want to distract. And before getting into our story, you were talking about what was it? Other people's experiences, or I wrote a book. I've written 3 books. This is my 3rd book, and I'll hold it up. It's called We Touched Heaven.
We
I don't know if
touched
you can
heaven.
see.
Yes.
And this is a collection of other people's stories,
Oh,
near-death experiences, spiritual awakenings, spontaneous, their dreams. It comes from atheists and people of grand religion. I have a minister and a reverend in here. It's from all over the world. It's from Australia and Africa and New
mhm.
Zealand and England and parts of the United States. And it's MDs, PhDs, a NASA scientist, an ocean biologist. I
Wow.
mean, you know, it's
Hmm.
it's a it's a grasping of all different walks of this life. And it's amazing how whether they because we don't have to die to have a spiritual experience. We really don't. And the phenomenon of some of these experiences that just happened, just spontaneously, and yet so very similar to the knowledge that people are bringing back from an NDE. And I've heard of people that are kind of like, well, I wasn't gifted with an NDE, and it's like, it's a weird gift. It's a weird gift because you got to die to do it. And I don't wish that on anybody. But if but do the meditations and read the books and listen to the podcasts and that, and get yourself kind of in that groove in
Right.
between living. Obviously, you're here to live. So in between living, in those times, let yourself be open. So that is my 3rd book. Um, my other 2 are a series called Gifts from the Edge. And, this wandering, this girl on the cliff where it's like, where do I go? What I have questions. As we said earlier, our head in the clouds, so to speak. I want to know, you
Yes.
know, this is this book. This is Journal Dreams. I lost my sister, and the who was my greatest teacher, I have to say. We were close, but aren't as close as after she passed.
Wow.
So
Wonderful.
she's been a wonderful teacher to me. The loss of my mom, hospice, just a lot of experiences to go through, and the afterlife communication and how I learned how to connect. So a lot of great stories in there. And the 2nd book is a Gifts from the Edge. This one is Lessons from the Other Side.
Ooh,
This one, because it took me a long time to write about my near death experience. I didn't in my first book. You would think that's what
right.
the book would have been about, but I wasn't ready to tell.
Mm.
And so in Gifts from the Edge, Lessons from the Other Side, I do have the beginning of the book is very detailed of my near death experience, and also a synopsis of the 10 things that I learned when I died. It's kind
Mm.
of like, you have a question, here it is, and, a paragraph long, but it's been reprinted so many times. And I'm grateful. The words are in my books are mine, but they're also filled with the light because I'm always helped when I'm writing. I'm always helped. Um, and one, sorry,
No, I was curious, your sister, now, do you meet her in dreams? Is that how she helps you, or is other ways?
I was just thinking, oh, if we had time, I'll mention this because I've been thinking of her all day, and thought I would lend a couple of the things I talked about to her. But one of the first things is it had been about a year and a half when she passed. It was her birthday. And I was journaling, and I try and keep my journals very clean, and, you know, um, not a whole lot of scribbles and whatnot, because I know that I'm going to go back to them to create the books,
Mm.
so it's like I want concise stories and whatnot in there. And so here it was, her birthday, and I missed her, and, it's melancholy, and I decided to write a letter to her. So I start out, dear Kaylin, I miss you so much. And, it's like, you were always there for me. And I started to write. My intent was, and I know you'll always be there for me. But I wrote now, NOW. Now, it wasn't in my thought
Hmm.
that that was not what I was going to write. I was going to write, and I know you'll always be there for me. But I look down and I have now is what's written in my journal. And I started to chide myself going, oh, great. I mean, I have a big old black mark in my journal because was going to scribble out my now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went, duh, she's trying to show me
Right.
she's here with me right now. And
Right.
so to
Beautiful.
your audience, another way that they might connect is through automatic writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have to be practiced. None of this is a quick fix. And it's not that you're not worthy or not spiritual enough or something. It's like, there's once you know things, and you'll hear another podcast, knowing, it's different than belief when you know something.
Sure. Right.
And that is, it's important, that knowing. And I can't remember what I was going to say. I must be getting tired, Julie. My goodness.
It's been a pretty intense conversation. It's very
Yeah,
enjoyable.
yeah. But I'll leave you with that. Keep practicing.
Okay.
Keep praying. I mean, with the audience who, you
Yeah.
might go to bed tonight and say, I really want to dream about my mom. Definitely ask, or whoever's on the other side, a brother or cousin, whoever.
Right.
um, I really want to connect. You might say it for 3 months before you get it. But if the intent is there, and the intent is
Mm-hmm.
fervent and real, and you'll get it. I promise you, you will. So
Thank
keep
you. Yeah,
practicing.
I agree. I can't tell you how many times I've heard how important intention is
Mm,
when we practice these things.
yeah.
Intention, belief, and don't give up. I hear that all the time. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Don't give up.
I guess we have to sign off for now, but
I
I
just
would
had a
love to.
great conversation with a new friend. I love it.
Oh
A
man,
new friend unseen.
I love this. I've loved this conversation. Thank you, Claudia Edge, for sharing with us. This has been fantastic. And thank you to everyone who's been watching. This has been Julie McVey with Unordinary Made Ordinary. And I do hope that you will join us next time for another fascinating interview. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And then if you like this type of content, subscribe and then hit the bell icon so you can be alerted to future videos. I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening wherever you are on the planet or off the planet. And I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.